If you make a mistake, make a turnover, make a bad pass, that's what, 2 or 3 seconds out of a 32-minute game. Are you going to let that instant affect the rest of your game? Or are you going to do what you said, shut it off, next play? But there's a process for that.
Randy, good morning. And it's been a little while. Happy to connect. We've got so much to talk about.
Good morning. It's end of the school year, starting summer. I know a lot of kids are excited about summer. My boys are. I think I was explaining to you yesterday over the past weekend for Father's Day. Normally on Mother's Day, we're celebrating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and the day before and the day after. But on Father's Day, my 2 boys said, "Oh, Dad, is today Father's Day? Happy Father's Day." Gave me a big hug, and they were off on their way.
Yeah,
It's Father's Day.
At the same time, though, you can't debate with that, right? We both recognize just how much our spouses do and how much they carry. So
They are awesome for sure.
yeah, that's right. The fact you got a pat on the back and a happy Father's Day is sufficient, I think. I felt I got the same thing. I'm grateful. And also a belated happy Father's Day to you, Randy.
Yes. Likewise.
Well, we had an awesome opportunity. We had a really fun opportunity to speak with Lena Poduska, and senior graduating. There's some news that I want to update our audience on since we met with her 10 days ago. She has qualified and recognized for the 2026 Winter Olympics as a Nordic skier competitor.
Amazing. And that's on behalf of Team USA?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Kind of a fun update to give since we were at the time, had no idea. She was clearly a potential candidate for the 26 Winter Olympics, but she said on the show, you'll remember, she didn't think, I guess that would be 28 or 30. She didn't think she could qualify.
Oh, wow. I know she's put in a lot of work ever since probably second grade and younger, right? So actually, that's the first thing that comes to my mind when you say that, Carter, is chasing Olympic level success at such a very, very young age. Is that empowering or is it stealing childhoods? Lena's story is incredible, but does the pressure to be great so early come at the cost of just being a kid?
Yeah, so I'll tackle that and then turn it to you as the coach. I'll turn that back over to you. I was, as a matter of fact, having a really interesting conversation with a close friend of mine from college who remains a very close friend of mine. In fact, I'm a godfather to his son, and his son has gone to a summer camp for soccer. His son is 12, and my friend lives in California. The camp is in Florida, and it's an IMG camp.
Oh, yeah. I know that. Yeah, they support multiple sports, not just soccer.
Including video game sports. EA.
Oh, they have gaming now?
We should carve out time for a separate show to speak about that topic alone. But let me answer your question. He and I got into that same question, which was, golly, that feels like a lot. And, his son is 12, but clearly to your question, dating back to second grade. And his answer was, well, it does. However, I got to tell you, my son is the one that's driving this. He wants this. This is him. It's self-motivated. He said, my wife and I are not pushing this. We care that he's happy and he's pursuing something, but we don't care that he's doing this necessarily. So to the question that you asked, I recognized and heard from Lena that this was her passion. And so to maybe wrap up my answer, I can absolutely get behind the kid that wants to pursue their dream, their passion, and go all in, whether it's chasing an Olympic qualifier or something like the IMG Academy. I'm all for that. I'm absolutely all for that. Where I think it gets super risky is me as a parent living vicariously through my kids.
Yes.
And putting them in a position of them feeling as though it's top down, parent driven, not what their wish or goal or passion is.
Yeah. And what was your godson's name?
His name is Jackson.
Jackson. So Jackson and Lena, are they the norm in terms of, that passion or the parents pushing them? Because the way I see a lot of parents, not just in, Olympic gold, but just in basketball. They're pushing their kids, living their life through them, telling them what to do and this and that. And I could tell this parent didn't even play varsity basketball, and now they're kind of living their life through their kid. My point is, even with Logan, my own son, this past weekend, I told them, "Hey, I have to go train some kids in the morning, 8 o'clock a.m. And if you want to come, you can come. If not, I'm leaving." You know, I'm not going to push them. You know, if you want to put in work, you put in work. I definitely saw that from Lena's perspective. She is self-driven, self-motivated, and I think that's the key there. If they are, I support it as well. You know, supporting your passion, supporting the passion of the kid, and doing anything and everything, whether it's traveling from California to Florida, to make that happen.
Let's go in that direction. We heard from Lena specifically when you asked, hey, is your recommendation that kids focus on one thing from second grade and they just go, 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 go on whether it be Nordic skiing or soccer? And her answer, I thought, frankly, was brilliant, which is, gosh, not at all. Try it all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. And I wish hopefully a lot of kids and coaches hear that. You hear in the NBA today, I'm really close to basketball, but a lot of the great players, NBA players, they played multiple sports when they were younger. And to have that cross-functional sports or play those cross-functional sports while you're young, but it actually makes you a better athlete. You know, baseball players, they're really good in basketball because they could be laser focused on teeing up on that ball. Similarly, any player that has played soccer, they're going to be great basketball players because they have the footwork, coordination, and agility. So I too encourage cross-functional sports, not zeroing in on a specific sport until probably, you know, maybe high school, right? Where you start saying, okay, I'm going to focus on lacrosse or swimming or track and field, whatever that sport is. But I've played football, I've played basketball, and I've played multiple sports.
I was impressed by Lena's emotional maturity.
Yeah.
You know, a number of times we asked her about balance and mindset and approach to competition. Talk to us about that, Randy. What was your impression on her feedback?
Yeah, from Lena's perspective, not just her ability to communicate and share her experiences, but her preparation, her mental preparation. I actually asked her if she has a mental performance coach because I have somewhat of a specialty in that, but a lot of the techniques, strategies that she uses to prepare for her sport is actually professional level strategies, professional level techniques. You know, her breathing. She talks about how important it is to relax. Her visualization, being able to picture positive things versus negative things. She talked a little bit about the self affirmations and being able to talk to yourself. And then she even talked about goal setting, right? Having goals, being able to identify a goal, reach it, look at it, and hit those goals. I mean, all very important techniques and strategies to be successful, to be an elite athlete, right? It's not just having the skill set or being strong and fast, but performing at that elite level. It requires the mindset that Lena has showed and demonstrated.
Something that you've referenced a few times that Lena brought up is that the mind doesn't know whether you're actually doing it or just visualizing it, which is something I know a number of the experts speak about and how important the visualization is. I see some images, or rather I see some videos now of fighter pilots.
Yes, yes.
Going through the motions from literally getting into the cockpit all the way to being in air and performing. And that's fascinating to me because I think that is a great representation of the point you've made, which is, again, the brain doesn't know whether it's actually happening or whether you're just sitting there on a couch visualizing it from point A to point B.
Yeah, I like to call those mental reps. So Jaden Daniels, he's a professional NBA, professional NFL player. I think it's for the Washington Generals, but he talked about visualization as well. And he went through this training. He's a quarterback. And as a quarterback, you have to make multiple reads in terms of the defense. Point is that he actually used virtual reality, augmented reality, to go through those mental reps. He was able to see it, visualize it, and then he was able to turn that off and then mentally visualize the same thing in his mind. Now he actually spent probably 3 or 4 hours in 1 or 2 hours on the headset, 1 or 2 hours visualizing. You know, that 4 hours of work, you know, that's very different than 4 hours on the field where you're getting hit, you're hot. But yeah, the point is that the mental mindset, visualization, and it's not just closing your eyes and visualizing it. For all the athletes out there, it's using all of your senses, right? Closing your eyes, imagining you are in the gym or on the slopes, feeling the curves of the hill, smelling your atmosphere, hearing the audience, right? And if you get to that level, there's different levels to visualize. But once you get to that level, now you just visualize success. And then again, your mind doesn't know the difference. And you do it day in, day out on a daily basis. And now you're successful, 24 hours a day.
I was speaking with a friend of mine whose daughter plays lacrosse with my daughters, and he played pro baseball.
Nice.
And I said, "Hey, what was your observation from, clearly you're at that level, you're a great, right? You've made it to the MLB, you're a great. What was your observation of the greats in relation to having gotten there to begin with, to the superstars?" And, I use like Aaron Judge, for example. He said those guys at the Aaron Judge level literally show up and do it every single day. They perform at that highest level. And I said, yeah, but how did they get there? And he said, they're able to shut it off, right? So your ability and my ability, if you will, to shoot a 3-point or a free throw might be similar, and therefore we're in the NBA together. But the reason you edge me out comes down to, obviously there's a level of skill that Aaron Judge has over others, but there becomes that moment where you are able to do something mentally that I simply have not practiced or don't have the capability to do. And his point was, when it's game time, they can shut it off and they block out the noise.
Yeah, no, that's important. And that's called the mental focus. And whether you do something good or do something bad, it's the next play and being able to do the next thing that you have to do. And in terms of shutting it off, it's not continuing. So for example, I give this example to my basketball players. There's a game that's 8 minutes, a quarter times 4. There's 32 minutes in a game. And if you make a mistake, make a turnover, make a bad pass, that's what, 2 or 3 seconds out of a 32-minute game. Are you going to let that instant affect the rest of your game? Or are you going to do what you said, shut it off, next play? But there's a process for that. Right? You hear a lot of coaches, get your head in the game. Don't worry about that. Shake it off. What does that mean to a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, even 18-year-old if they haven't had that specialized training or, know how to shut it off? And there's a process to do that, okay? In terms of, there's like a red light, green light type of theory. There's self-affirmations. Okay, I made a mistake. Trust what I can do. I know I could hit the next one. And then you move on, right? There's visualization. Oh, that was a brick, heavy brick that I was carrying on my back. I'm going to throw it off. It's off. I'm released. Clap. Now I go to the next play. But my point is, it's not as simple as saying, shut it off. Those elite athletes that you're talking about, they have professional mental mindset coaches and professional mental performance coaches to help them through that so that when they do face those things, they can actually implement it.
Randy, I want to switch gears a little bit, recognizing Lena literally is a graduating senior from high school. Yeah. The students that we get to work with are K through 12 students, as they both raise money for their group. And now this widening, opening up of the WiddyUP vision, and really recognizing so much opportunity when a student sets out to fundraise for something they care about. And we can get to that in another show. But one thing I've loved about our time together on these shows is we break down what we spoke about with a student or a teacher or a coach or what have you is, okay, how is this conversation that we had with Lena applicable to other kids and their parents? And so maybe I'll throw out a few things I've thought about since and get your feedback. But number one, the amount of work and sacrifice Lena went through and ultimately the impact on what you and I would consider to be the traditional experience she had through her, call it, K through 12 years. Talk to that a little bit and that sacrifice, and then what you heard from Lena.
Yeah. So let me ask, I'll answer it in a question in terms of, would Lena still be awesome if she walked away from skiing tomorrow? Right. And what I mean by awesome is discovering the things that you do with the awesomeness that you have. Right. And I don't believe, my philosophy is your sport doesn't define who you are, right? It makes up a lot about what you like and what you do. But for all of our listeners out there, you may not be an Olympic gold medalist. That's a rarity. You're not going to, numbers are not in your favor that you're going to be in the NBA. I certainly want you to have that as a goal, but it is a lot of work. It is a lot of sacrifice. And there has to be a balance in terms of, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish in your life? But my recommendation there, well, first thing is it's a lot of work to do any sport, play any sport, even in high school. For those of you that are looking to go on to college, right? I definitely recommend you play a sport, because what happens there is colleges will look at that and say, oh, this person is in track, this person is in swimming, this person is on the varsity team. They know that's a lot of work, and you're putting in a lot of work, a lot of time, a commitment. In addition to that, you're getting good grades, right? That just shows that you're able to balance that. Do I encourage sports? I definitely do, because sports can teach you a lot of things that you can use to be successful, obviously on the court or on the field, but also in the classroom, and more importantly, in life.
Yeah, I want to touch on the awesomeness comment, and I want to just pick up on that. The amount, maturity, realization, self-awareness, of course, lessons related to grit, dealing with losses and wins, irrespective of Lena having gone on to ski in college or make it to the Olympics. To your answer, 100%. It was worth it. Yeah. And the fact that she, let's say, doesn't qualify for the Olympics or doesn't ski for a D1 college, the experience, the practice, the reps, again, getting to know thyself, pursuing a passion, and discovering for her at an early age what her thing was. You and I understand that to be unique, and to be able to pursue that, similar to my friend's son, good for you. Gain those experiences. Now, whether or not it becomes something post-high school, frankly, in my opinion, doesn't matter. It is the journey.
Yeah.
It is the discovery process.
Yes.
The apprenticeship, the experiences. So I think that's a really good direction to take it. I'd ask you another question related to Lena and her experience in school. How about that sacrifice? How about, no, I can't go to such and such party or join y'all in such and such social thing because I'm getting up at 4:30 a.m. tomorrow to train. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I think from that standpoint, there are sacrifices that you have to make in any career path, sports path, educational path that you have to do or have to take and have to give up if you want to be elite, right? And what I mean by elite is, I mean, there are good students, great students, and there are elite students. They're giving up the same things, right? I've always taught all my student athletes, do something that the other players aren't doing or the other students aren't doing from an academic standpoint. And what I say there is study on Friday night, right? Study on Friday nights. Who likes to do that? No one. But for those that are going to be studying on Friday nights, they're the ones that are going to be getting straight A's, having the high scores on the SAT or ACT. I'll put it another way in terms of, if Lena wasn't winning, would her story still matter? Do we really value character, humility, and joy in athletes, or only when they come with medals, right? And I think that's another differentiation. I mean, you take away skiing from Lena, she's still an amazing person, right? She talked about sacrifices. She talked about putting her team first, selflessness, right? There's a lot of character, a lot of important character that she developed because of skiing, and which makes her an amazing young lady.
Yeah, her groundedness, her humility, her balance. You know, I, as a father of 4 kids, recognize a lot of that is nature, right?
Yeah.
And then there's an absolute awesome thing happening, has to be at home, amongst her coaches, within her community, amongst her peers, because while she might have been, if you will, born that way, she's also got an awesome support network. And that's something to be excited about for sure.
Yeah. And I remember when you talk about support network, she was always saying that, it's so important to have people around you that support you and bring you up when you're down as well. So I can't emphasize the importance of having that support network and how valuable it is. Whatever you do, right? Whatever you do.
Totally. And to be sure, Randy, we've talked about this. That could be a mentor, right?
Yeah. It could be a mentor. Last episode, Danny talked about his mom and his girlfriend, right? Someone that can either help you remain focused or, continuing to push you along in that direction that you're headed. Because there, as everyone knows, getting from point A to point C, it's going to be twists and turns. And you always need that support person to help keep you on track.
So for us, wrap up kind of the takeaways that we might offer to our audience, and especially focusing on the students and families who are pursuing that particular angle or approach athletics, whether it's because they're interested in athletics after high school, or it's something today for the elementary and middle school students that's just their thing and they're all about it. So break it down for us.
Yeah, with Lena, we just learned that she's now an Olympic qualifier, which is an amazing accomplishment, right? And during our episode, we heard from her and she talked about the importance, what it means to grind, to sacrifice, and more importantly, to show up more than just for herself. It's for her teammates, not only herself, right? Allowing her support system to help her family, her team to really pursue a dream. And I think that's the key takeaway here is trying to find out what you are good at, right? Discover what you can do with the awesomeness that you have. And it may take time. It may take time to find that out, but you have to try everything. Lena talked about that in her episode. She said, try everything. Keep believing, keep pushing. And of course, never forget that we are all awesome. So on this show, again, thank you for all of our listeners, all the comments. Continue to find us online. Tap that YouTube button so you don't miss an episode. Put some comments in there. Let us know what you want to hear, who you want us to interview on the next episodes. And until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you on the next episode. WiddyUP.
Make it count. WiddyUP. Thanks, Randy.
Yep. Thank you, Carter. Talk soon.